Okay, welcoming to the show, the All-American Chris Weidman. He'll be taking on Sakara at UFC Live this Thursday, March 3rd. You can check them out on Versus. The card is going to be free, so there's no reason not to watch. Chris, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, man. So, are you done with training, or do you still are you still getting a couple days in?
No, yeah, I'm still like repping some stuff, getting a little bit of a sweat in, but now it's all about making weight. So now tonight I'll probably get a weight cut, and as well as tomorrow morning, and maybe one more time before the weigh-ins at 4.
You know, I hear so much from different fighters about how painful and terrible of a process cutting weight is. Can you tell us like what that's been like for you, and you know how terrible have your meals been?
Well, it's definitely probably the toughest thing about fighting and stuff like that. But I come from a wrestling background, so I've been doing it since I was like a little kid, making weight, for every little tournament. Even though if I'm not sucking weight, it's just the process alone.
I see.
And I have it down pretty good. But yeah, meals, as far as meals, like for the last 6 days, I had no sodium whatsoever. I have a half a cup of rice and a canned tuna that I drain with water to get like any type of sodium out of it.
Oh my God.
Or canned chicken. And that's my meal. I add some vegetables every once in a while, and I have that every 3 hours.
Don't you worry about eating disorders down the line?
Yeah, as far as like gorging and having too much food.
So no flavor allowed. That's rule number one. Just can't enjoy it.
Well, actually, no. Actually, I put no sodium, but I actually have like garlic powder and like some Mrs. Dash stuff. But as long as it has no salt, I can throw it in there. So pepper and stuff like that I throw on there. But that's about it.
And is it like five meals a day or 6 meals a day or something?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Depending on what time I wake up, something like that.
Chris, you're going to love getting fat 10 years from now.
Oh, man.
It's going to be the best feeling in the world.
Well, when I'm not training for a fight, I'm already fat, so.
The buzz of when you step into the ring will not compare to when you get fat.
I agree with you. I think it's such a better feeling.
Chris, tell us about, you did talk a little bit about training. What are some things that you worked on to, get yourself ready for this fight?
Well, actually, I came on short notice, so I had about 2.5 weeks to work, and basically I was really just working on getting in great shape, staying healthy. Those are the two first things. Then other than that, just working on the regular stuff. I'm working on my wrestling, my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and my stand-up, just like always.
Right. You said that you were, you got short notice. I think you learned that you were fighting, February 12th or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, something like that. It's like 2.5 weeks ago. I forget the date, though.
Yeah, that's like less than a month. Are you at all worried that that's not enough time to prepare?
No, I'm not worried because in training I felt actually great, better than I could have ever imagined. I got in really good shape. I'm real confident. I could go 3 rounds hard, and so I'm not really worried at all.
Chris, Sakara hasn't fought since last March. Is it noticeably more challenging to prepare for a guy when there's no recent footage to study?
Not really. I think it's probably harder to train for me since I only have 4 fights. But yeah, not really. I think it's actually an easier thing just for the fact that I know that he's probably going to be a little rusty. You take a year off. That's a pretty significant amount of time to take off from fighting. So I think that might have a more effect on him than it has effect on me.
Now you said that this is going to be your this is going to be your promotional debut for the UFC, right?
Yes.
I heard that you got a couple offers from like Strikeforce and a couple other promotions. How did you? Why and why did you say no to them? And how did you know that the UFC would eventually come knocking at your door?
I honestly didn't. It was like God's grace. I said no. I was the day I was going to sign with Bellator. I made the decision. My wife had made dinner reservations and planned on celebrating because I was going to get a little bit of a bonus from them and everything. And it was a big day. I finally going to make some money in a sport that I really wanted to excel in, and it was a big day for me.
Right.
And then some things with the contract didn't work out for me, and I was like. And it ended up just going from 100% I'm going to sign with them to 100% I'm not going to sign with them. Wow. And then about 2 weeks later, Strikeforce was real interested, and kind of the same thing happened with them. My manager he was actually even leading me towards signing with them because, we got in touch with the UFC, and they were, kind of telling me, get a couple more fights in, and then we'll, take you in, but nothing's guaranteed, and I got a family, so usually, you want to go to where the money is,
of course.
Guaranteed stuff. You don't want to take too many risks,
right.
Not only on yourself, but with your family. So I really had some hard decisions to make, and thank God I took some time. Let me think about this. Let me chill out for a second. And thank God this offer just came into my hands.
Huh. Now being in the UFC finally, seeing the immediate boost that John Jones received, due to Rashad's injury, how little do you try to take for granted the opportunity as a, for lack of a better term, a fill-in fighter?
Yeah, no, this is really awesome, man. I'm not here. I'm excited to be in the UFC, but it's definitely not. I need to win this fight. If I don't win this fight, I refuse to lose this fight.
Yeah.
And I see these guys who are in the top, and that's where I want to be, and that's pretty much it.
Now, this is a big day for you, not only because it's your UFC debut, but it's going to be on a card that's free. You know what I mean? As long as you have cable, as long as you have Versus, you can watch the fight. So clearly, a lot of people are going to be watching. I bet any of your friends and family can just tune in without even having to travel or pay anything. So, are you nervous at all about how big of a platform this is for you?
Not really. I come from a pretty good camp. I come with Ray Longo and Matt Serra, and they've been here a million times. And whether it was with Matt or other fighters like Drago, Luke, and different guys like that. So they've been pretty much getting me ready for this moment for a long time. I actually cornered Drago. I've been in the scene before. I've been at UFC events. So I kind of understand what it's going to be like. It's not going to be a total culture shock, but no matter what I say, it's still going to be a little nerve-wracking. But I think I'll be prepared for it.
Now let's talk about your opponent a little bit. He's a former boxer. I guess he is a boxer, but you've knocked out a couple people too. Do you think that you'll take this to the ground? You do have a background in wrestling, or are you fine with just keeping it standing?
I'm not going to be that guy who doesn't play to his strengths. I know my wrestling is my best thing by far. I've just been doing it my whole life, but my jiu-jitsu and my stand-up have came along pretty good. Like in my prior fights, I didn't feel the need to even really utilize my wrestling. I had fun standing and banging, but if this is his biggest asset, it's his stand-up. I know he's a black belt on the ground too, but I still believe it's definitely just like my wrestling is my strength. His boxing is his strength. So I'm not afraid at all to stand with him, and I probably will. But I'm going to be mixing it up as much as I can too.
Ray Longo, who you trained with, said you're probably the most talented guy I've ever come across so far. That's what he said about you when it comes to just how fast you picked up jiu-jitsu. What is it that made you able to pick up that so well, so quickly? Something that takes other people years.
I think it has to do something with just my mindset. Coming from a wrestling background, I was a technical wrestler. I wasn't the fastest or the strongest or anything like that. I was talented, but I definitely I broke down moves, and I was really into the techniques, not really anything else. Like on my college team, I felt like I knew the most moves. I was really into the techniques instead of just just finding one move and doing that. So when I got into jiu-jitsu, I think it was kind of the same thing. I've learned so many techniques over the years, and when you look at someone when they're teaching you jiu-jitsu, they're teaching you the same way as if they're teaching wrestling. So your leg goes here, your hand goes there. So I think I was able. I was already I've been learning that for my whole life. It just made it so much easier to just keep on learning. You know what I mean?
Chris, I was looking at your Wikipedia page. I noticed I noticed that you have a master's degree from Hofstra.
Yeah.
What are you doing fighting?
Well, I kind of got that. My wife forced me to get that master's degree. She wanted me to have a backup plan, basically. But what happened is, after I was wrestling and stuff like that, I was coaching at Hofstra University. And being in the school, they were paying me, so why not, try to get my master's at the same time? And that's pretty much how that started. And myself, if I wasn't married and I didn't have the wife I had, I wouldn't probably even be thinking about getting my master's. But she kind of was like, "You're getting your master's." I don't care what you say. Because my undergrad was psychology. You gotta do something else with that. And so she kind of forced me to do it, and I did it. I'm happy I have it. It's pretty cool to say I have a master's degree, and I'm not sure if I really want to use it,
right.
But. I love the fighting, and that's where I want to be in some way, teaching it or whatnot.
Well, that by the time you're done with your fighting days, that master's degree is going to be about the equivalent of a high school GED, right?
I know. You're right. I have to go back and get my doctorate times 5. So.
Chris, I see you beat light heavyweights Ryan Bader and Phil Davis in college. Does that type of resume give you confidence should you ever choose to move up in weight class?
Yeah, not just because I beat them, those particular guys, but when I was in college, I wrestled 197, and then when I wrestled, I tried out for the Olympics for a year. I wrestled at 211. So I've gone with big guys. Those guys were coming from like 240, 230, and I got myself up to 230 before. So definitely, if I was going 205, I'm not intimidated at all. Like I feel like I'm a really big 185 pounder. And 205 pounders, you know, I could be there as well. If I would just have to, you know, lift some weights for like a couple months, and I'd be right there. So
keep overachieving. Keep overachieving.
What's that?
Keep overachieving.
You're a big overachiever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you got to go. I just want to get your picks before we let you go. I mean, I'm sure you're going to be watching the fights. The card is, you know, it looks like a really entertaining card. Sanchez or Campman, and Dalloway or Munoz. Who do you have in those two fights?
I'm going to go Campman for Diego Sanchez for that fight. So Campman for them. And then Munoz-Dalloway fight is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think Munoz has the advantage on their feet. I think Dalloway has the advantage on the ground. And I think, you know, both are really good wrestlers. I think Dalloway's a little fresher with the wrestling coming from college. Dalloway's a little old. Munoz a little older. If I had to pick a winner, I think Dalloway's somehow going to scrap it to the ground and be controlling on top.
Huh.
They're not going to be excited for that in the Philippines.
Yeah, sorry all my Filipino fans out there.
All right, cool.
But,
well,
yeah, who knows though? Who knows?
Mark, are you on? I mean, Chris, are you on Twitter at all?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. Chris J. Weidman.
Cool, all right, man. Guys, follow him, and then we'll definitely.
I'm brand new on there. Come on, I need some followers.
Oh, likewise. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool.
All right, cool. Well, best of luck to you with your fight. We'll be watching it again. That's this Thursday on Versus UFC Live. Chris, thanks so much. Chris, thanks so much for the time, man. Hopefully, we can get you on again sometime soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks. You guys were awesome. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
All right, later.